live.
Hello, glorious Ashes community. How are you all doing today? Hopefully you're doing wonderful. We are having our development update live stream. Every month we do this, so if you're new to the channel, that's what we do on this channel. I'm Margaret Krohn, the Community and Marketing Lead.
I am Sharif, Creative Director.
And I am Jeffrey Barr, Lead Game Designer.
Yeah, we have a few other people who will be joining us throughout the live stream as well. If you're new, you might not know that. We basically have updates from all of our teams, and we try to like bring in new people every week if we can, to kind of represent all of our teams and kind of chat with us and talk about what they've been working on for the month. And some of them show off some cool videos and assets and things of that sort, so you can see kind of what we've been working on. But of course, today first we're gonna have Steven talk a little bit about the studio, and then we'll go into having our engineering team talk, our design team chat with us a little bit, and our character art team as well. And just for the quick updates to get them out of the way, Apocalypse, we now have Ashes of Creation Apocalypse available 24/7 for you to play. So hopefully you're hopping in and having a good time. I know we've been watching a lot of streams and YouTube videos and just having a really good time ourselves playing and checking it out. So I hope you guys are having fun. And for us, this is allowing us to do a lot of testing on a lot of data. And I know this is what the design team has been waiting for a really long time. And I know Terrance will be joining us later, and he'll be talking a little bit about that because he's kind of the data junkie in your team, right? And then, of course, for that, we also opened up some new channels. So we know that some people, maybe didn't want to hear about Apocalypse. You just care about the MMO. We still got you. You can still catch all of the MMO action at Ashes of Creation, but we also made a channel that is AOC Apocalypse. So you can follow all of that over there, and if you're interested in helping us test and create all of the content that's going to go into the MMO. And what's funny to me is that when we shared that video of the MMO, people were like, "This looks like Apocalypse." I was like, "Yeah, because everything that we're doing in Apocalypse is also in the MMO." And of course, we also put out a lore and creation video of the Tiebreaker, which is
that thing is so cute.
It's so cute. And I know that our team has been working on a lot of other cool creatures, so we have some more videos coming down the line as well next month.
Funny story about that Tiebreaker.
It's a hilarious story.
Well, I didn't know what scale it was going to be. You gave it to me that way.
Well, it's a mount, right? But when it was originally modeled, it was the size of like a shoe. And
shoe.
Yes, it was.
It wasn't this. Okay, so it was the person,
super small.
The person was straddling it, and you could you could put your feet down on the ground.
Dragging on the ground.
It was tiny. So actually, I had the suggestion that perhaps we should actually keep it that size and instead give like hundreds of them as like a dog sled type of thing where you mount on a dog sled. But no, we scaled it up.
I was like looking at it, and when I got the first screenshot, I was like, does that seem really small? And Tristan's like, I don't know, that's what they gave me. And I was like, was this approved? He's like, that's it. Got to me. I'm like, all right. And then Steven goes, what?
I saw that video and I was like, oh, we cannot send this out.
I was like, okay, maybe they're just trying to be funny. I don't know. I don't make these decisions. I just make videos and assets.
It's funny, very funny.
We have coming up as our creative director's letter. We have that coming up soon as well. I know that we're going to try to get that out by the end of the month, but I know Steven has
It'll probably be the first week of next month. Typically, I would say, like, even though they're, the creative director's letter is intended to be a quarter review, so they usually come within 1 week of the quarter finishing. So yeah, I would say probably next week.
And then we also have new cosmetics that we'll be swapping over. We'll give you guys an update when those things are happening as well. And we have something really fun that I know Sarah has been waiting to do. We are going to be having a October contest. So you'll be able to win some cool rewards. We are partnering up with another company who makes peripherals. And so we'll be having some cool rewards that you can win, as well as, doing a fun contest. That's kind of my teaser for that. I know it's a little bit of an announcement, but it'll be coming soon. So I think that's kind of it for the intro part.
I always feel
weird.
Wait, why does he have to say goodbye yet? I haven't even gotten into the studio update.
Yeah, we can do the studio update first.
Jeff, you can stay.
I can be here.
Do you want to participate in the studio update?
Let's do it.
Yay, we can do it together. So things have been going great here at the
They've
studios,
been fantastic.
Right? One of the cool things about, anytime you're shipping something, whether it be, a test or Apocalypse or the MMORPG, it's a really cool thing to see things come together in a very short amount of time. So, as development carries on, things are kind of split open. They're very, kind of
everything's kind of everywhere.
And
it's hard to see what the final product's going to be like.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But as you're approaching a date, and whether that date, like I said, be a test date or an actual ship date for something, everything finds its way to come together. Now, obviously, there's still bugs and things that we have to address when something goes live. But having the ability for the studio to kind of experience that as a whole and get these things down now ensures that in the future, it'll be that much more smooth when we actually move into our alphas and betas.
Yeah. No, it's really cool to see kind of everything function and work and do what we expect and kind of see it all together and see people playing it, see people enjoying it. I mean, it's been a really great experience for the whole studio.
And testing our live ops, I think that's one of the things that, is kind of always scary whenever you are first launching a game.
Will everything stay up? I don't know.
Yeah. So I think that's been...
testing the true metal of how much sleep a human.
Yeah, no, it's a trial by fire, I guess, but it's the same every time.
We have
it's really
a rotation. We have a schedule.
Yeah, we have
so
a rotation.
People are getting sleep. That's happening.
Having to answer messages at
Some
1, 3, 4 in the morning.
I mean, some of us have to be on call.
2 hours of sleep, right?
We do have
true.
like
2 hours.
kind of like a pager duty thing where basically the high priority people who need to be involved in communication and processes that are on that. So
but I mean, the great thing is here on the team we have a lot of veteran developers who've been through process of shipping many games in the past. But it's one thing to have that experience in your history. It's another thing to have it with a team.
And with a new team and with people, you have not necessarily worked with in this manner before.
Right.
We're a new studio and we're kind of building these things as we go. And so, establishing sort of routines and processes and all those things are, helping us grow.
Yes,
Processes. Why are you looking at me?
You don't follow them sometimes.
Wow. What process did I not follow? Oh, Margaret's mad because I sent a notification 30 minutes before the stream today.
I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that.
It's something else she's mad at.
Oh, here we go. No, but yeah. So it's really actually very good for us to be able to go through this process together.
Yeah, it has been. I think everyone's working really hard, and I know we're all really excited to move to the new studio that we have coming up in November. I know for you,
we get to start hiring people.
You need more people on your team.
Like 100.
Very insane. So that's a studio update. Huh?
Thanks for letting me participate.
Yay!
Yeah.
All right.
Now
get out of here.
here.
No, I'm just kidding. We're going to swap in Alex, who's going to be joining us. If you've watched some of our previous streams, you may have seen him on one of them.
Hello.
But if you haven't, let's...
Hi. Hi, yeah. My name is Alex. I'm a programmer in Sharif Studios.
Say Brad?
No, it says Jeffrey still.
Oh,
you're fine.
Jeffrey.
It's okay.
Your name
guys.
is Jeffrey.
I'm a Brad Constantine.
Lead
Many
designer.
Things.
Hey.
Many things.
For you guys back home, we can see the next scene that's coming up, and that's why.
So
Brad.
Jeffrey.
Oh, okay. Great. Yeah. I've been working here for 2 years. Implementing a lot of things. It's a lot of fun. I think it's my first launch.
That's right. First game launch.
Yeah. Prior to this, I was a software developer, so I launched a lot of software.
Yeah.
I haven't launched a game before.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So maybe I get some free tickets to.
Hey, it's my
convention.
first game launch too. We're first game launch buddies.
Hey.
How has this been for obviously you've developed software before and have launched those products? What's been the major big difference?
I guess
this was not on the schedule for chatting about, but I'm just curious.
I mean, it's definitely, this launch was a little bit more smoother than I've experienced before. Software, there's a lot of bugs on the day off. Sometimes we have to bring down the servers completely and then fix a lot of bugs. This one was pretty smooth. Hadn't had many major issues. We had a few live updates, patches, which we implemented really quick. But none of that is very, very, very smooth.
Yeah. And knock on wood, we haven't had to bring down the servers yet for any type of updates. We've been able to update live and allow players to kind of log out at their
We
whim.
will be having updates that will be coming up because we'll have new compendiums that will come out. We'll have new content and new items that will go in the marketplace. So we will have the normal cadence for that.
I just mean on a hotfix standpoint, right? We haven't had to bring down due to emergencies, but the cool thing about this, even from an engineering perspective, is not just so much the data that the designers receive on game balance, performance, all that kind of stuff, but engineers get to look in real time. How are our servers reacting to all this stuff that we've coded? How is our code standing up to players actually hitting it? And that's cool to kind of see and iterate, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So talk a little bit about what your team has been up to. I know you have quite a few topics on the list.
Oh yeah, we've been very busy past month since our last update. We worked a lot on revamping our combat system, specifically our melee system. There's a lot of work went into adjusting and implementing new features like allowing you to multi-hit per swing, allowing you to do a 360-degree hit, allowing you to basically have variable damages per each combo, variable stamina, also variable structure damage. So that was fun implementing. I was pretty much tasked with that. There's other things that we also got to do while other people working is that we got bots set up. So now we can stress test our servers and see if we're having any network issues, if the FPS is going down.
It helps our QA team a lot because before we push to live, we need to be able to get bodies in there and being able to have the bots.
and that's going to be a great tag coming once we have MMO servers running to figure out how far can we push our server infrastructure.
All of these procedures,
next time you guys should show a video of all the bots. They look so funny. They're like running around.
They do look funny. All of these procedures, all of this testing, the process basically that we follow now in order to push live updates and having a live player population with Apocalypse goes to serve a purpose when we get to our alphas and betas. So, as we want and you guys want to play the MMORPG, everything with Apocalypse is intended to prepare all of this infrastructure, all of the testing of code, the design elements. Everything goes to preparing for those alpha and beta stages so that they are smooth and they reflect the quality of game that we want to provide all of you as players. So.
I think on the combat's point of that, it allows you guys to create, the designers to create. Oh,
absolutely.
Really
if you participated. So here's one of the great things, right? Even though we understand that a BR is not what an MMORPG is. It's not reflective of that in any way, shape, or form from a gameplay standpoint. However, from a building standpoint on the back end of things, a lot of what's being done, almost all of it, goes forward to the MMORPG in that regard. So, you'll see if you participated in the August 20th test to the launch of Early Access, just from the combat perspective, how things changed so rapidly. And, major kudos to Alex in particular, because on the engineering team, he was the primary coder for many of those combat changes, allowing design to incorporate, variables that were previously not capable of being different between different attack steps, accommodating the new speeds for animation, the variable arcs and multi-hit checkpoints that are now present in the combat system, which will be used to iterate and create the hybrid combat system that's intended for the MMORPG. Alex was instrumental in coding a lot of that stuff that the design team with Jeff and Terrance and Akil and Brian were capable then on implementing. So just between the August 20th test, and one of the great reasons of why it's important for all of you in the community to participate in the test even if BR is not necessarily a game mode that you enjoy, it lets you see the progress and the changes that will occur as we move forward in development. That's something that's very important, because as you experience those changes, you can now go on Discord and the forums and participate in our streams, and you can comment on what you like or dislike or think will do well, in the MMORPG. So all of those things, move forward to allow us to iterate in a way that's going to be reflective of a quality we want you to experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I think you were kind of talking already about, the bots and how that's helping with testing, but you also have been doing a lot of things for scalability as well.
Correct. Yes, we were working. Basically, Mark, our lead architect, he's working basically scaling horizontally, making sure that when we stood up more servers, they able to handle more large group of population. That as we grow, we need to make sure nothing crashing, nothing lagging. Every server stands up. So, for example, if we have different zones,
we had some issues during the test, and I know you guys were able to resolve those quickly. I don't know if you can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, we solved a few issues where we had some rubber banding. We're still working on it, but I think we got most of it down. It's just a very small percentage of matches happening. We potentially might even need to contact EBS to figure out if it's box's side or not.
Oh,
Yeah.
But
that was great.
Yeah,
I just saw that bus run by.
But it is allows us to test a lot of our infrastructure, especially the back end. It's very important for MMO to have a very solid back end, because there's gonna be a lot of players. There's gonna be a lot of regions that can be stitched together. People can be crossing over. You want to make sure that people that are coming through, and it's that we're able to handle that amount of people, and it doesn't bring down the node. And what happens if, for example, node does go down? Do we have a redundancy for it? For example, let's say one server goes down, it will kick everyone, but we need to make sure that everyone merges into the same zone, just with a different server, so that the way it's a smoother experience for players.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think the other things we did also, we updated our block mechanics. I don't know if you guys noticed, but now blocks is a little bit different. It consumes stamina like before, but if you reach 0 stamina while you're getting hit or while you're just holding it, you will have this small stumble that will root you in place for like a second, allowing your enemies to take an opportunity and attack you.
Right. Little stagger, yeah.
Yeah. Additionally, we improved our gap closing, which pretty much, as you've probably seen, if you have no enemies in front of you, we have these consecutive leaps that allow you to basically go over the terrain much quicker, much faster. It introduces a new element to movement.
Right, absolutely. And this is something, when we look forward towards the MMORPG, basically allowing for, and this is part of what Alexi coded, was allowing for you to detect whether or not there's an enemy in your forward arc, right, to a certain distance, and if not, you follow a different path in the animation blueprint. So you don't call the swinging with your weapon attack. Instead, you play a more acrobatic leap that lets you go move through the air. These types of things we're going to utilize with certain types of classes potentially in the MMORPG. We're going to play with these things to see how they feel and look in the MMO. They won't be a 1-to-1 ratio. It's not going to be exactly the same that you see in Apocalypse right now, but the baseline foundation for that type of code is something that moves forward into the MMORPG with certain skills.
Yeah.
Correct. Another big things that we worked on for past month, we worked on our HLIDs, which is basically
explain what that is.
So HLIDs. So let's say you are coming down playing Apocalypse right now.
High level of detail.
Yeah, let's say you're playing
Apocalypse
Apocalypse right now, and you're coming down with your Griffin. What you technically see in your view is the whole map with all the structures, but they are HLIDs that are low poly objects that generate for you that from far look pretty good, but if you come up too close, it looks like Play-Doh, basically Lego. That
Right.
looks
And
like
you should
very,
never
very bad.
you never see those up close, because as your distance to the object begins to close, we swap out that HLOD for a different mesh that has higher texture detailing
Exactly.
and quality, right? So I mean, the reason why, and a lot of, I mean, all games really use this, but we get to refine that process with our environments to really limit the amount of stress that we're putting on your GPU to render out that level, so you get a better kind of experience, especially when you have a lot of players that are going to be in certain areas, like in the MMORPG. So we get, Apocalypse allows us to kind of play with those values to refine that process. Code gets to kind of touch that as well to see, at what distances we're calling those things, whether or not they're static, a part of the persistent level, or if they're part of sub-levels that only get called if you're within range to actually render, those particular HLODs. All of that stuff gets refined in what APOC provides us to do.
And then, I mean, the biggest reason why we actually have to modify what we currently have is because of a distractible environment that we have.
Yes.
So, for example, the walls, the buildings, we need to make sure that when you destroy a building and you go very far away, when you look back at it, you don't see it, because the plain HLOD will show you, hey, the house is still there.
Right.
But in reality, you destroyed it. So we need to have a custom solution to be able to say, hey, this is no longer part of HLOD anymore, so don't show it to everyone, and and then reflect everything else as it is. And then the same thing would be for our castles. You just distractible walls. We need to make sure that those are persist properly on all the distances.
Right.
And you can see some of that destruction already in the Battle Royale mode as well.
Yeah.
But obviously Castle Siege is going to be on a whole nother level. I know that we've been testing a lot of that, and we have some videos. I mean, as we get closer to things, you guys are going to see some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then basically, obviously, since we just launched, we also have been fixing our code.
Into early access.
Early access. We've been fixing a lot of bugs, a lot of performance issues, a lot of just tiny things like engine level.
And you guys added the waypoint system.
Correct.
That was
Correct. Yeah.
Hopefully that's helping people
even
I think it'll be more helpful whenever we're doing like squad stuff.
Duos and squads, yes. Yeah. But I think as a solo player right now, you able to deploy your waypoint on the map, or you can basically click the middle mouse button and deploy it and see it from afar, and it should reflect it on the map. So that new system was implemented. Let's see.
We are working on leaderboards.
Oh yeah, leaderboards is still in progress too. We are looking at our patcher again, make sure it's a little bit more stable, because I know we've been experiencing some small issues with it. I think that's pretty much it. Yeah.
And the patcher stuff we're working on. So definitely download through Steam. That makes it easy enough so that you don't have to deal with the patcher process.
Right. The patcher is being torn apart and rebuilt. So.
Yeah, and it's important for us to have a good patcher, especially when it comes to MMO. Is that you guys don't experience that while we actually launching MMO.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Alex.
Thank you, Alex.
Appreciate all the hard work. Our engineering team has been kicking a lot of butt. I think they're probably the ones that stay late the most to make sure that they hit their milestones and their goals. And we're actually bringing on Terrance, our design. A new design. I don't think you've been on the stream yet.
No, I think that was the first time.
All right, you're
right.
going off the stream.
Sorry, I don't know if you have the cooties.
No, I don't have. I mean, maybe.
Oh God, we're just on a long trip.
I rarely see Terrance because his head is always stuck in all the numbers.
Oh yeah, I got a big monitor, lots of room for Excel. That's where I've been living.
And before, I know Terrance does have a video that we're going to be playing in the background whilst we chat. But first, let's kind of chat with you about who you are and what you've been doing, what projects you've worked on.
Sure.
Introduce yourself to our community and what you do on our team.
Yeah, sure. So, I'm a senior designer on the team. I've been at the studio for, a few months.
I've known Terrance so long.
Oh gosh, yeah, we go way back to Sony.
13 years.
Yeah,
probably.
something like right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, we worked together on Free Roams, right? So, I've got a background in MMOs. A lot of them more on the action side, so like PlanetSide 1 and Defiance even. And then I have experience in the traditional MMOs such as EverQuest and a little bit of EverQuest Next as well. But recently I also have experience in BR. genre. So, you know, I think I'm pretty suited for all the things that this dude is
He
kind of
was
working
my
on.
mentor when I was becoming a designer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You were an amazing apprentice. You really were. You had a passion for design and the world. Yeah, you really brought it to life. So that was great.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'm
We'll
glad to
just
see.
keep Terrance on. Give me my moral support. Let's talk. We're gonna show a little video, but at the same time, you might want to talk about it as well.
Oh yeah,
So this
sure.
this video. For lunch.
Yeah. So, you know, like Steven and Alex were talking about, there have been a lot of pretty massive changes to combat very recently. And a lot of this was driven from, I think, our August 20th playtest, where we got feedback from our community members. And so some of the biggest changes that we have were just to the animation and combat system, again, where we have these multi-hit attacks that can go off, in addition to kind of those, I don't call them, let's say, parkour jumps, but those jumps. Here we have Brian.
Which you've seen on the stream before, Brian.
Oh
Ferguson,
yeah, Brian Ferguson. I've been working with him on some of the balance and
we outsed his character. Everyone knows who he is now.
Yeah, and Brian's one of the better players for sure. He's really able to show off what the new kind of lunges allow you to do, right? It's a whole new sense of freedom, a way to explore and move through the world that we really didn't have previously. You can see him kind of seamlessly go through windows and attack an enemy there, right? And then he can actually...
I'm sure people are like, is that me? They're trying to see what it look like they made it on screen.
Yeah, and this sort of freedom is just so fun. I mean, it just really makes you feel alive.
I think it looks really good too.
Oh yeah.
Compared to like what we were doing before, which was like it looked like you're just hitting the air.
Oh right. Yeah, exactly. And so it adds a new sense of freedom, and you may see people do things where they swap in and out of like melee range, and then they pop quickly out and they go into a ranged combat. So there you go. See, and there's Brian with his expert shooting.
Yeah. He just like he just flawlessly like doesn't even look.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, some other things that we've changed recently, based on again the feedback from August, is that we tried to make blocking much more important and matter in actual combat. You know, we're still looking at the numbers and tuning that, and we will be doing that throughout time. But blocking should matter actually much more than it did previously. Let's see, what else have we done? Of course, recently, you know, we're just getting ready for launch, which was just
early access.
Yeah, early access. I'm sorry, launch of early access.
Yeah, launch of early access.
Yeah. And you know, so a lot of us are working on getting the compendium, you know, up and running, and of course, getting all the animation. There's a lot of animation work that went into the new combat system, and of course, a lot of balance changes based on the August 20th playtest that we had.
Absolutely.
And I know you guys are working on some future stuff. I know you can't talk about it in super detail, but I know you've been working on some Castle Siege stuff as well.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're getting all the prototype abilities are set up, and we're going to be start testing those soon. Because it's a different game; it needs different abilities to play out, and we'll see what we can pull from those that makes sense in from the Castle Siege into the MMO, right?
Yes.
I mean, all of this is. You know, especially these animation changes and combat changes that you're seeing in Apocalypse. You know, we're curious to see what makes sense in the MMO. What can we take from the MMO?
And that's so much of really what design is all about during Apocalypse's game modes. Is identifying which features are going to be making sense in a hybrid combat system where you have to account for tab targetable skills and players in those different tempos. This is, I mean, many of you who are watching the stream and who are going to see it on YouTube afterwards, you've participated probably in a wide array, of MMORPGs. I rarely ever find MMORPG players that have only ever stuck to one MMORPG their entire career, right? You kind of go around and you feel different things. And you've seen that there's a lot of systems out there that try to say maybe that they're a hybrid system, but in reality, they're really one or the other. And really when we sat down originally, a couple years ago or 3 years ago now almost, oh my God. It's been a while, but when we sat down together and we said, hey, we really want to actually make a next generation hybrid system, we had some doubts whether or not it would be possible. And one of the components of Apocalypse and the origin of its creation was really to determine how action combat can exist. True action combat can exist in a tab targeting system complementary to it.
Right.
And a lot of what we're doing here, allows for us to collect that data and to not just data, but actually to experience it firsthand in a live production setting.
And I know you're
with real
working a
players.
lot on the data side of things.
Oh,
How's
yes.
that going?
Yes. Oh, that's been a lot of work. It's interesting work if you're a data junkie or a numbers nerd kind of thing. A lot of it was working with our programmers to actually give us the right events that we want to track, so that we can get an eye or handle on how our weapons are performing or what items are players picking up or dropping or actually carrying throughout the match. How fast people are dying, right? All of these are really important for us to understand what's going on in the game.
Yeah, and I know heat maps are also helpful to
Oh,
see
yes.
where people are dying and like where those choke points
exactly, and where items are spawning or not spawning enough, right? Yeah, how people are moving throughout a match. Yeah, all of those are really important things to know and learn. And so that's one part of the equation when it comes to balancing of game or supporting it through live. The other thing that's also really important is really the community, right? We need that feedback to let us know if there's something that we're missing that the data is not showing us. So.
Yeah, and Toast is amazing.
Oh yes,
she's
absolutely.
putting together reports, and for us now that we have something more persistent available, she'll be doing those weekly, sending those over to the design team, to our entire team. But a lot of that stuff is going to be heavy on design, making those decisions and getting the other teams to make the changes that they need.
When I think of the more important design decisions that we came to from the 20th and before that have surfaced in our early access launch, was the time to kill has increased.
Oh yes, that's true.
Significantly. So much so that now, at least in the Battle Royale mode, right, you're seeing where players at the final stages of the circle are much more numerous. You're getting down to like 10, 15 players, and that's with our limited match sizes right now. By the way, match sizes are being varied currently because we're doing some testing on the servers. But when we get up to the 100-player test, I'm really interested to see how many are going to be present there. As a matter of fact. I was in a match. I've not really had the opportunity to play very much, but I was in a match yesterday, and there were like 15 players in one of the final circle stages. Oh, wow. And I really wasn't even fighting. I was just dodging around and jumping up while I was trying to let them fight.
That's the way to do it. Let them fight, and then pick off the ones that are.
But it was a really fun experience. But I think the most important aspect with that time to kill was really allowing for time that strategy becomes more important, right?
Absolutely.
Tactics become more relevant when there is a greater time of variables to exist within that period.
Yeah.
So
right. When you can have time to assess a threat, and figure out how you want to deal with it, right? Yes. Because one of the interesting things about personally I really find about Apocalypse is that you can have these kits and make these really interesting loadouts, and so
people have different some people I really like this weapon and I like this ability and so they make the combinations go well.
Yeah, that they like, right?
But I mean, the other thing, one of the other driving reasons I think in my mind on coming to that decision to increase that TTK with some of the changes that design has made was because it allows us to collect more combat data in individual fights as well. If fights end in 3 seconds, it's kind of difficult to determine where things went there. With that longer TTK, you actually have an opportunity for us to derive data that we then move towards, the MMORPG's hybrid combat system.
Data's really important, but again, it's only one half of the equation.
Exactly.
So again, if there are things that you feel, please let us know.
Yeah, I mean, we have a bug forum and we have feedback forums, so please go over there. Toss them over to us. We definitely have been reading everything. We're compiling all of that. We're sending it over to our team so that they can review things and make changes. And obviously, we've made changes. There were people who did want to see the time to kill increased.
Sure.
So I think that
that helped.
We've made a lot of combat changes because people had mentioned that they didn't like the way this looked or felt, and I think we've made drastic changes on animation and. I know combat itself has just taken a crazy
totally.
overhaul.
Yeah, big change.
Which was a
the
lot
block.
of work on you guys.
Oh, it was. Yeah,
So,
exactly.
Kicking butt.
Yeah. And it's always interesting to see, how you theory craft something out, and then when you throw it out in the wild, what actually happens. I think it's
So,
important.
funny story. Actually, immediately after the August 20th test, I pulled in the design and the animation team into the conference room, and I said, I think we should make these changes. And
They probably all
the
looked at you.
face, and they said, okay, sure. How much time do we have? And I'm like, 2 weeks. The faces were just like, oh my, can we do that? And then it was just like, all right, let's do it. Let's go for it. And, amazingly enough, the design team, Jeff, Terrance, Kale, Brian, the animators, Myers, Constantine, Rojak, and McPhee, Mini McPhee, as we call him. They did an outstanding job in kind of coming to the call in making a very wide change to combat, to our action combat systems that are in Apocalypse. And I think they did a great job in doing that. So kudos to the design team and animators. Well done.
It was definitely a team effort, which is one of the most rewarding things about working in the games industry.
Yeah.
Is that team
And it's
effort.
also like the reward of seeing people play it. I think that's always been something for me, is like when you create something and then you watch people enjoy it. That's
awesome.
one of my favorite
I
feelings.
totally agree. Yeah, that early launch phase is just amazing. So I can't wait for the MMO when we have this giant world.
Except for all the meme people, they
Oh,
can go
absolutely,
somewhere.
100%. I think one of the great things about Apocalypse is it allows players to kind of see the quality of the world we intend to make, right? What they're going to see in the alphas and the betas. They get a small taste of it now, and it really is a small taste because the environment
The world
team, our
is
artists
huge.
are just so talented, and they really make something that's immersive for players to experience. So if anything, if you're not participating necessarily in Apocalypse as testing for the combat, just participating to see, what that immersive nature of the MMORPG is going to be like is something that's pretty fun to see.
Yeah, and you're going to get to see some more environment stuff that they've been working on soon here, actually, next.
Oh, good. All right.
So,
Perfect timing.
thank you so much, Terrance, for
Of course.
joining us. We hope that we'll see you again.
Anytime. It's
Thanks,
great.
Terrance.
All right.
Yeah.
See you guys.
Come on over here, Brad. The B-Rad. He's wielding weapons and
Alrighty.
doesn't hit me with it.
Yeah.
He hit the door with it earlier. I was
Oh
like,
my gosh! Is it a sword?
He goes, Maggie, can
Is
I
that
bring?
even
Can
lethal?
can you come closer?
Yes.
You're like cutting
Can I
off.
see the sword?
Yeah, it's awesome.
I think this is the EverQuest sword, isn't it?
We've been using
Is it
that
really?
to
Can we do
redo
this?
the combat.
Yeah. I don't know if we can.
We
show
went over to
this.
the mall
It's
and
not
chased
on
the
the
people
screen
around
right
the
now.
mall.
Oh, okay, it's not on the screen. I don't think we can show this.
Yeah, I don't think we're supposed to be able to show it.
Chat! Hey, chat! Let's do a Friday hootie hoo. Get your whoos ready. H-double-O. Ready?
Who?
When I say Friday, you say
I
who?
messed up.
Friday who? Hootie hoo. You got some whoos?
So that's an introduction. Brad.
Yes!
It's Friday.
I love it.
Oh my god.
Do we work tomorrow?
How are you? No.
What?
On Saturday? Do we work tomorrow?
Some of us do.
All right. Cool.
How are you?
I don't know if the
Brad?
animation.
We
team-
are excited
closer,
and
so
we're
like-
exhausted at the same time. Is there a word excited?
Exhausted. It's a mixture of excited and exhausted. It's just exhausted.
Let me do a quick shout out to the character team. I wanna make sure everyone's included. We've got Keith, we've got Chris, we've got Carson
And Jinsey.
Jinsey, and
We
we've
have a new fellow
got
too,
Jessica
right?
and me
He's
and
an
Myers, and we have a brand new animator, Dave Olkers, who we're really excited to have him on board. He comes by way of Amazon and Tryon, and he has 20 years of animation
We gotta get him
experience.
on.
Yes, he did a little work on some of this two-handed axe polish, and it came out really, really good. But yeah, we are beat, man. We've been doing combat craziness
I like
for
the
about a
sunglasses.
month,
I
and
know,
now
he-
we're
he
back
goes-
to
he goes,
full-on
Maggie.
MMO craziness.
He goes to me, Maggie, can I bring my sunglasses and a sword? I'm like, a weird request, but sure. And then
He's like Highlander.
Jeff thought he said
There can
sweater.
be only
not-
one.
Jeff's like, why would you not let him wear a sweater? And I was like, no, he asked if he could bring a sword. And Jeff's like, oh,
And the sunglasses actually keep my eyeballs from falling out
oh no. Why
So-
would your eyeballs fall out?
from doing all this fantastic work.
Yeah.
You know, my mom, when I was a kid, she said, "Don't stare at the
You gotta get
TV.
those-
Don't sit so close
you
to
gotta
the
get those
TV.
And then you
gunners.
Your eyes will fall
And
out."
then you decided to work
And
in.
I'm 30 years into staring at the TV every day, and she was right. Yeah,
Nonstop.
they do fall out.
So let's talk a little bit about the work that y'all have been working on. So we'll first show off. We're gonna go. There's a long list of assets. So first we're gonna show off some of the wormlings that you all have been working on. I know Gen Z has been kicking butt on.
So now these are actual models. These are modeled and ready for implementation into the MMORPG.
Yeah. So we've been, populating the world and creating quest lines and all the goodies.
Fantastic! Look at that.
Yeah.
Look at the detail.
I love this. Now these are these are also concepted by Ryan Richmond, who, by the way, is an amazing concept artist.
I forgot that.
He went through basically what one of our dragon models were, and he kind of varianted them out into all of these different, very vibrant examples, different changes of wormlings, or dragons that you see here.
Yeah.
And then Jinsey, who created the base dragon model, went through and began actually implementing the concepts into these, what you see now, modeled dragons.
And you're going to be able to ride these, right?
Absolutely. So some of them you can ride.
How cool is that?
Some of them you might see as NPCs and or bosses or dragons, monsters that you could fight. There's a wide array of capabilities for these different creatures.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the new combat animation. Steve mentioned it earlier. He came to us after the August 2010s and said,
take a deep breath.
How can we make this more fun? How can we make this better?
Yeah.
And we put all of our heads together and we came up with a plan, and I think the results are fantastic.
Absolutely. One of the great processes that Brad and the animation team have is, they can do anything under the sun. They're such experienced animators that really all they need to be given is direction, and then boom, they pop it out and it looks great. So, originally what we had with some of the combat in Apocalypse was a little bit slower, was a little bit more methodical, but it had a high damage output. So that's why the time to kill was much shorter. And then it was a little bit what felt like players saying it was kind of floaty, and it wasn't representative necessarily of MMORPG kind of action combat that they would come to expect. So, when I kind of give direction, I give them direction based on references, based on scenes that I can give them. I say, we want to aim for this, and we want to point, this. Give me kind of examples of what you can do in this direction. And that's when Brad and Chris and the other animators kind of come together, and they're like, all right, how are we going to do this, right? And you guys did a stellar job, by the way.
That's right, and you guys got to understand too, it's all sort of driven by design as well. You'll find that if you play Apocalypse, if you haven't played it yet, right out of the box, it's a very balanced game experience. When you switch from weapon to weapon type and all of that kind of stuff, you find that it's very satisfying, the balance just right away. And so we strive to do that also with the animation, make sure that the visual representation of what you're getting in the game
we're not actually showing it.
is up to the task. So when we get a list of animations to do, a lot of the timings are already figured out for us. So it's just a matter of us to make it look cool.
Yeah.
And fun.
And the next thing that we have going up, talking about animation, we're actually going to show a little bit of the animation of, I think this is the Scale Runner.
Do we have animation?
I don't think we have animation.
I don't know if we have animation.
I have a video for him.
Carson.
So this is the Scale Runner that you guys may remember. I think it was almost a year ago, right? Or was it like 6-9 months ago? I don't know. It was a few months ago that the Scale Runner was released as one of the monthly cosmetic packages, and you can see here now it is modeled and ready for implementation into the MMORPG.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And if we go to the 3D.
And this is Carson's work.
Carson's been killing it.
He's been killing it. He originally, he did a lot of work on props and weapons, and he's moved into some creature modeling, and boy, has he been doing a great job on the creature front.
There's nothing these guys can't do.
Absolutely.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love
and I'm
this
sure
guy.
we're going to have many variants of this guy in the game, so you can there'll be an NPC as well.
Oh yeah.
So that's one of the challenges for us, is that when we populate a world with these characters, we're breaking them down into individual sort of skeleton types. So you can imagine in any world situation, you would have an elephant-sized creature, some deer-sized creatures, small mammal-type creatures, breaking all of those down into their basic skeleton types, and then we can do variants on each of those. So this would fall into the giant rideable lizard skeleton type.
I like that type. I mean, so just so you guys are aware, there's a wide range of what animation can encompass, not just necessarily and even in the games industry, but also, you know, from a CGI standpoint and filmmaking, all that kind of stuff. When we're talking about an MMORPG, though, we're talking about a whole host of creatures that have to get made. And we want to make sure that the process, the pipeline that allows for those creatures to come out in a timely manner, include kind of typing, like Brad was talking about, putting these guys into groups that can share the same skeleton or, you know, some complexity of that skeleton up and down. And are we showing this one now too?
Oh, not yet.
No, not yet. Oh, okay. So we're sorry, right side.
Yeah.
But that's going to make for a more alive world when
Absolutely.
you see lots and lots of creatures. And you can see we've already done some of the work towards that for the MMORPG. When you see the little, what do they call the little pangolin?
Warriors.
Warriors.
I keep telling everybody.
Pathing around
warriors.
in Apocalypse there or whatever stuff.
You know, some people didn't
work.
know that those couriers are actually going to be domesticatable.
Yes.
You'll be able to domesticate the couriers on your little farms, on your freeholds in the MMORPG, and basically that long tongue that they have that you can see in APOC right now, they actually dig deep into the ground for gemstones, preferably gemstones. Sometimes they just eat the rocks, but preferably gemstones, right? And their digestive process allows, actually they don't go to the bathroom. Actually, they take those rocks and they begin to go towards their outer skin, their outer
So you can see the
armor,
gems
right?
in the
So you can
shell.
start seeing the gems in their shell, and then you harvest those gems.
That's cruel.
No. They need those gems to
Okay.
be removed so that they can continue to eat.
Oh, okay.
Right? Yeah. So they don't have a digestive tract. I don't know
The
if you ever
story
read
for
this, but
story for them.
reason
Who knew?
the reason why I got that digestive tract thing was I don't know if you know this. In real life, there are these little like creatures that live under your eyes and stuff. And do you know how they die?
That's gross.
No,
don't
I'm
know
just
that.
saying this is cool because it's science, right? Science is
Yeah.
fun. Those creatures don't have a digestive tract that live under your eye. They actually poop themselves to death because what happens is their body fills up with the digestive stuff and they blow up. They literally blow up from the poop. This is serious. Go look it up. Anyways, that was the idea for the courier,
I
is that
poop
they
creatures.
also eat the stones, and then you have to
I
harvest
think Ian
them.
wants us to move on. from
Okay,
food.
so sorry.
They also roll up into cool little balls and follow
Anyways,
you
that
around.
was just a little tangent, but here
I saw that you
yeah.
put the image up. I'm like, I think he wants us to move on.
So we went from pathing to moving.
Okay.
This is the Pride Stalker, and we are kind of showing off the different variations that we can have. So you can see the different wings on them and
So
the colorations.
you guys, this Pride Stalker is from the summer crowdfunding extra month that we did, and he is, he's a variant to the Dawnbreaker as well, which was the corollary pack in the Kickstarter month for you bravers and above. But here's some examples of how you can kind of tweak your mount to have different like wings and colors. They can have changes that more represent a customizable mount for you to identify with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and these are all modeled. So these are the modeled versions. Oh, here's another great thing, right, about what Apocalypse provides us. Normally an MMORPG, there's a lot of art that goes into, making a world alive and immersive. Well, most of that art, that pipeline doesn't get actually implemented into a game world that you can experience until you actually hit, the betas and the alphas and stuff and launch the game, right?
Yeah.
And it can take years. That art just sits into, it sits at a Perforce repository waiting to be, ready for alpha and or beta. Apocalypse allows us to actually give you this kind of what's the word? It's
Preview.
like a stable, you know, so to speak, a stable or a hangar base, you know, other games might call it, but a stable where you get to log in, and if you own these things, we're going to have that available for you to see in action in Apocalypse. So like right now, our Braver of Worlds, all Braver of Worlds and above, if you're Braver of Worlds and above, you get to log into Apocalypse, and you'll be able to equip your Dawnbreaker, jump out in the sky, and fly with it.
Dawnbreaker changes too. I know that that's supposed to be later, but we can swap to that. So we did the same thing with the Dawnbreaker. As you can see, like there's different tinted versions that we can have. There's different wings that you can also get.
So cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of variation. Jinxie's been pumping these out.
They're amazing.
And that's like the thing is like when we create one creature, it's not just one creature. We can do a lot of variations on them, and also we can adjust these too. With our animal husbandry, you're gonna be able to like. You can see like the other one was like a lion plus this gorilla.
I see in chat a lot of people are like, WTF, what is this? Oh my God, look at that thing. That's exactly the reaction that I want people who own this in the MMORPG, that I want them to see from players as they literally stroll by. They're just like, oh my God.
Now in the MMO, these will be ground-based as well.
Right, well it depends. If you have a royal title, you'll be able to fly these things. But that's restricted to only a few number of people in the game based on their achievements.
So when you see people flying, you're like, that's like a king.
Now, these mounts, however, will have some jump abilities where they can glide a little bit. And that will be available regardless of if you have a royalty title or not. So, you know, they'll have a little bit of a running jump and then can kind of glide down, so to speak.
And that's a mechanic that we already have ready.
Absolutely.
For the MMO.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
And then we have some armor that we're going to show off too.
Ooh.
Keith Kovacs and Chris Atkins knocking out armor, and it's stunning.
So I think this is the Kale Armor. Yep.
How cool is that? Look at that.
Somebody said, "How did this creature come to be in existence?" Well, that's a topic for another day.
Well, we will
ask your parents about that.
We will be putting out some articles on those creatures too, so stay tuned, and you'll get a little lore tinge about them. I'm excited. I've been really having fun with the lore and releasing all that, and having really cool videos to show like the progress of the creation process.
These are just stunning. Absolutely stunning.
And then this is the Imperial.
You know, here's another cool thing about, you know, as you guys get to see these different armor pieces come to life through, you know, our streams that kind of show our development process for the MMORPG. We get to actually, you know, test a lot of this stuff also by allowing different color variants to be available as cosmetics in Apocalypse. And some of those, you know, are Apocalypse being free to play. Really, it just takes a certain amount of time to kind of participate in either, you know, that free track on the adventure path, and you can achieve a lot of these cosmetics and carry them with you into the MMORPG if you don't currently own them. Yeah. So that's a pretty cool thing too.
And I think the last thing we've got is some environment stuff. I know you were talking about the environment, or we were talking about the environment earlier. Bacon, I think, is out sick today. But
we love you, Bacon.
Yeah,
Shout out to Bacon.
Yeah. Bacon.
So no little candies for Stephen.
Bacon, why don't I have any Jolly Ranchers?
Hey, I can go fix his stuff while he's gone.
We don't have any more rapper ASMR.
I know they've been working on a lot of the environment.
Is it ASMR or just ASMR? ASMR? Isn't that a creature? That's a race variant to Pathfinder.
Yeah. It's a D&D too.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Well, Pathfinder.
We have Pathfinder space. So.
I gotta say, in Apocalypse, I get killed more often looking at the environment stuff rather than paying attention to players coming to kill me.
Yeah,
it's so beautiful running around the world. All of the variety of environments and everything is just
absolutely
AAA top notch.
Look at this, like desert.
Yeah, so they've been working on their desert terrain over the past month.
We haven't done any streams about our variable biomes that are in the MMORPG master map, right?
I know that we want to do like a video that's kind of showcasing that too.
Yeah. But this gives you a little taste of one of those biomes.
Yeah.
Can you just imagine looking in that direction and seeing a giant desert dragon start like running and flying at you?
Yeah, props to the entire environment team, and also Nate Soriano doing fantastic simulation stuff with streams and ocean things, and
because the way that our world is, it's like like a lot of it can be auto-generated stuff. So for instance, like in a town, right? Like if there's a river that goes through that town, then we have to figure out how buildings pop up around that, like a bridge comes over it, like things like that, so people can traverse. So they've been working really hard on a lot of that stuff. And once we get into a little bit more of a ready state with that, we can show off the development process of that, like we have for our other tools. Like if you haven't watched it, you should go back and check it out. We did our housing tool. It showcases how our houses are built.
You should make a little playtest of those.
Yeah.
Or not playtest, sorry, playlist.
Oh yeah, there is.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's the Dev Diaries playlist.
Nice.
Yeah. I got you.
Yeah, see.
But yeah, they've been working really hard on this. I know that they started with like the beach. They did a lot of like beach textures.
Oh, look at
and then they did the ocean. And
Let's live there.
now they have all of that.
Yay.
We should all
Is
be
that
going to
done?
the beach.
I think so. I mean, it will be.
Okay.
Hey, I want to emphasize again from the animator point of view how important this apocalypse situation is. Everything that we're doing in Apocalypse is hardcore testing for the real MMORPG. And I've found previously that when we do things like arenas and we put people in a large area and we tell them to go fight, a lot of them go hide behind the bushes until the last 10 seconds. And then you don't get a lot of really good data. The BR experience actually forces people to get in a concentrated area and fight each other. And that
Yes,
is
that's
actually
true.
the best way to test everything
That
very
is true.
quickly over and over again. So I encourage you players who are hardcore RPG players to, open your mind a little bit, take a break, jump in Apocalypse, try out our new motion system and combat system.
All the combat.
And give us your feedback. You know?
And actually, that's a really good segue into the next slide because part of okay. Just
Yeah.
Okay, you're live.
Okay, I'm live. Hello.
Ooh, that meteor.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, they can hear me.
You can see it on the screen.
Oh, I can see it on the screen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not the phone screen.
We need another hootie hoo is what
Sorry.
we need.
Okay. So, guys, actually, that's a great segue into kind of a promotion we're going to be doing this. What are we? Okay. This weekend is if you are going to be participating in Ashes of Creation Apocalypse, you have the opportunity to earn for free the Ember Storm Dragon. This is a mount skin that will be in the MMORPG, like all things in Apocalypse. And we will be giving it to everyone who achieves level 20 by September 30th.
That is so cool.
I know.
Look how cool that is.
That guy's pretty cool.
You're not getting a hat. You know? You're not getting like a cool looking belt or something. Look at that.
Absolutely.
Wow.
So we're going to have actually another announcement too, but we will save that announcement for after this weekend, probably.
Yeah.
Yes. Another reward, but basically, guys, we want to make sure that you understand, just the amount of help that Apocalypse provides, our combat testing, our back-end testing, pretty much everything that goes into a foundational standpoint, many systems in the MMORPG. We want you to understand that and come and participate in that. And we want to make sure, that we're providing, it is a free-to-play experience, but we also want to make sure that you see, the rewards that you can achieve in Apocalypse that will carry into the MMORPG. And this mount is just one of those examples. So we really want to reward you for helping us to kind of test these systems. And I think, incentivizing that with some free rewards that are possible if you just play APOC.
Yeah.
Action combat is so hard. That's why a lot of games don't do it, right? So we've committed ourselves from the beginning to figuring out a system that will work for all the different kinds of play styles. And I think that that's what's going to make the game so incredible for everyone is that
Absolutely.
people can come in and have a real action combat experience if they want it. We know how to do tab targeting.
Yep.
We've done that for 20 years.
Absolutely.
So we know how that system works. But to combine that with action systems, that takes work and it takes development.
Absolutely. It takes a
and
lot of testing too.
It does, and iteration. And so we count on our players to help us out.
Yep.
You know, and we appreciate everything that you guys do for us. And I'd like to shout out to the community. Thank you for the snacks.
Oh
They
my
came.
gosh! Huge.
We got
Thank you, by
snacks.
the way.
Everybody enjoyed the snacks.
We had Fushi and you know, a lot of the other PI backers actually sent in a few times pizzas and snacks and a whole bunch of stuff, and we really appreciate. We love our community so much.
It's like
really,
family.
it's the driving force behind, you know, why we are all here late at night, over the weekends, whatever it may be. You know, coming to work every day really is about building something that's going to stand the test of time and be a lot of fun for you guys. And we appreciate the support you give us. Sending in that food is
And we can't wait to play either. We can't wait to finish this thing so we can play. And then we all play together. It's going to be great.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us, Brad.
Thanks, Brad.
We're gonna
Bye,
bring
Brad.
Jim
See you,
back.
chat. I need my
Put your
sword.
sword there. Don't kill anybody.
Don't.
That's definitely a workplace hazard.
Yeah.
Yep.
Scares me. Watch out.
Out of my eye!
We do have a lot of questions, so we can try to get through these really quickly. We are.
Oh, is it
we are
speed mode again?
We are over time already.
What?
Yes,
What time is it?
It's already 12:01.
We didn't do
Time
any
flies
questions.
when we're having
Yeah,
fun.
I have questions.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I just saw lunch arrive too.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
I
yes,
know.
no,
The
no,
studio.
yes, yes, no, no. We're done.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Come
everybody.
closer. Jeff.
Oh, sorry.
I feel like anyone who's on this end is like afraid of me. They just
It's not afraid. It just, you know, we look
It could
further
be.
away on the screen than we actually are
Yeah.
in real life.
Yeah, we're really close right now. So we have Magic Man from the forums who wants to know: are there any plans to add innovative features to the tab target side of the MMORPG combat, so it becomes more skill based, similar to Guild Wars 2?
Yeah, I mean, it's not all tab targeting skills will be the same, right? This is a hybrid system, so we're going to be, you know, the controls of an ability will be based on what that ability does, and we're going to be clever, and you know, we don't want every class to play the same, we don't want every ability to play the same, and so yes, we'll be doing a lot of experimenting on that side too.
And Kayla's wants to know: will the new acrobatic leap or lunge in Apocalypse Battle Royale be in the MMORPG and or in the Castle Siege mode?
Not in its existing format. No, it will be different. There will be elements of it that are present, perhaps gated by particular classes and or abilities that you might spec into within the skill tree, and that moves forward in that way. But in the Battle Royale, really, it's granted more as a traversability aspect, and, you know, because the Battle Royale is very a clean slate on everybody entering in and contingent on what you find in the game. We wanted to give everyone that ability to kind of jump around and traverse hills because our map is very topographical, not very similar to a lot of other Battle Royales, and we don't have any, like, you know, quick building mechanic like might be Fortnite or other stuff out there. So.
And then Nagash wants to know: do you have any events planned for October? We kind of already answered this earlier,
Maggie.
but there is something coming up in October. Stay tuned. And of course, we have stuff. Stay tuned. Cymex wants to know: do you have plans for low-level raids, i.e., level 10 or 20?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
We again, like,
A whole host.
our whole plan is to kind of get rid of the end game and like have stuff for everybody across all levels, experience levels, you know, yeah.
And Cadwin wants to know: what variety of mage skills can we expect other than elemental ones from Arc Wizards?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Just about anything you can imagine,
I was thinking about saying, like,
right? So there'll be elemental focus.
What variety
we'll
of
have-
mage skills can we expect other than elemental ones for Arc Wizards?
Oh, okay. So you have like, well, have we talked about this a little bit, right?
a little bit.
So I mean, there's like radiance and darkness. There's, you know, the standard elemental stuff, and then there's something. You're gonna see some stuff when we get into alpha and beta testing that's going to be more driven by the lore of Ashes of Creation with regards to energy types that might be present there.
Right.
So you know, that's kind of custom to our own universe.
Yeah.
And then the next question is from Karthos, who wants to know: are there any chances that we'll have ship and naval combat in Apocalypse, like a little side
It is
mode?
something that I have brought up.
Yes.
It is also, I mean, it's a perfect place to test that kind of stuff. That's what I'll say.
I actually really like that idea.
It you know, it's we'll see.
Yeah. So I mean,
We have thought about it.
Because we'll
just
already
to
be
just to
further-
contextualize that question, right? The whole purpose of Apocalypse is it grants us the ability to siphon and silo out individual systems into their own game modes that can be presented for testing and data collection, as well as our fun. So naval combat as a system in and of itself is a fun system. It can stand alone as a game mode, particularly. So is there an opportunity it could be seen in APOC? Absolutely, there is an opportunity. The same thing with, you know, our Castle Siege, our Horde mode, our action combat testing in the Battle Royale. You know, all of those things are systems that can be plucked from the wide array that makes an MMORPG and allows us to test those
And
things.
just
individually.
really focus on that one part. Because,
Absolutely.
you know, naval combat's hard, and it's also kind of, you know, deserves
think-
its own
Right.
attention.
Think about this, right? You know, when you test a game, right, you have different types of testing. You have your, you have your prototyping when the system's being created by the designers and the coders. You know, it's very bare bones. You're just trying to get that up and running. You have it moving to a little bit of QA, where QA is getting in there and telling the designers and the, you know, coders, hey, this stuff's broken. It's not working as intended. You have polish, where it's getting ready to be shown to a live audience or a broader QA system. And then you move it out to a live audience with alphas and betas, right? With an MMORPG, there's a lot of things that are working together. They are dependent on one another in the MMORPG, as well as systems that stand alone. So really what Apocalypse does is it moves from the process of prototype to QA to live audience to polish to live audience, and it gets that system where it's now being heavily pounded by a live audience and tested for what is wrong, what is broken, what is unbalanced, what needs to be rethought. And we don't need to have that system a part of the wide array of the MMORPG to be tested in that way. It can be done so in an isolated mode that then we can take data and information from and move into the MMORPG's more integrated, complex array of systems and make sure that it stands up against the thousands of players who are going to be participating with it. So,
Yeah.
Sorry.
Quick answers. We're doing,
I'm so
we're doing
long-
yes,
I
no,
know,
quick
I'm
answers.
sorry, I'm long-winded.
I'm just messing. I'm just like, Chaoser wants to know, will Metropolises be able to form military alliances and declare war on other alliances, effectively causing a world war?
Will Metropolis be able to military? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, you know, our node system has a war and peace and alliance system, right? And you can have those statuses set with other nodes based on what the duly elected officials do.
I hope we get a war.
And I feel like this question
up
may
to
have
you guys.
been asked before, but Digital Wind wants to know, will ships have wind mechanics and or manual controls for sails, or will they handle more like cars on water?
Yeah, we just don't want the riders on these ships to sit there and do nothing, right? It's really cool to have mechanics on these vessels that can be interacted with by someone other than the captain. Those mechanics will include things like being able to augment the speed, whether through a interactable on the sails, being able to interact with weapons, utility items, defensive mechanics. You know, we want it to be a robust system.
You're like,
Will we be simulating, you know, actual sailing, like with wind and stuff? Probably not, but
Yeah,
we'll
probably
try to approximate it.
Yeah.
and then Democulus wants to know, will we be able to wield a spear and a shield together?
Yes, we will have one-handed spears, and usually when you have one-handed weapons, you have a utility or a defensive ability on the other hand.
And Zach wants to know, Zach, that's an easy name. I like that name.
Hey, Zach.
Some names I'm like, I don't know if I'm saying it right. So I apologize in advance if I say your name wrong.
Said
Should we?
Zach wrong.
Is it Zoc?
It is Zoc.
Sorry.
That wasn't as easy as you thought.
Should we choose to forego the ranged weapon slot in the MMORPG? Will we be able to spec further into our melee weapons than someone who did not forego the ranged weapon slot?
No, we want that ranged weapon slot to be particular to
You're
the
gonna need
range.
it.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Saturn Aurora / Insomnia both wanted to know how might have a patron deity be beneficial to a player in regards to types of character appearance or special augments.
Character appearance and special augments. So the religion itself is really going to dictate the augment ability that's provided by the temple that you are a member of. And then your progress within that system is going to determine what augments now become unlocked in that tree. With regards to appearance, there's absolutely going to be a number of quests that can be achieved by patrons of, I can't think, parishioners, followers or whatever of that religion that will be worn or capable of being worn and applied to armors or
like you put it.
Yeah. So the answer is yes, there will be.
Sorry, I should just say yes.
Wololo wants to know: will the game support 21:9 aspect ratio for monitors? That's a very specific question.
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, I will circle this and get back to you. Football wants to know: will many or any of the quests in AOC have pop culture references?
It's hilarious because it's a thing that happens. It probably won't be prevalent.
I'm not a fan of it.
I don't think it will be. We've answered this in the
stuff
past.
is really important to us, and we want to make sure that we don't take you out of the experience.
Right.
I mean, we have lore for every piece of weaponry and armor.
Our position on that is really to keep most of that stuff immersive. Is there an opportunity that for
nods and winks?
Yeah, nods and winks. Absolutely,
absolutely,
right. But those will all be in flavor and context. So
yeah.
Lumbermark wants to know: can we have subgroups in our guild?
Yes, you will be able to have subgroups in the guild. You'll be able to administrate those groups with names. You can name the contingents, and you can assign leaders that will have special chat privileges.
Like, this is our platoon.
Exactly, absolutely.
Our
as a guild leader myself, it was a dying wish every time I played a game to have that type of administrative function. And it was so sad not to see it.
You see it a lot in more like strategy-oriented games. Like I know. Like,
I don't even see it in. I mean, very many games I really don't see it in, and I think it's just
pretty low hanging fruit.
I think
too.
it's exactly that's my point.
Yeah.
Is that I think it's such an easy thing to do, but I just think sometimes it's lost on the
it never becomes a focus, right?
Exactly.
Like, and we're guild focused,
guild centric.
Yeah. Naris wants to know: for breeding mounts, a desire was expressed to limit RNG. In what ways might this occur? Timers, limited breeding attempts, etc.
So me personally, I view RNG as a lever that can be reduced based on time committed to whatever that process that includes the RNG is. So basically, if you're looking to, let's say, craft an item or breed a mount or, something along those lines, the higher quality input you have to the process, right, which usually will take more time to get, the more you can mitigate the RNG aspect of it. Now, will you be able to entirely mitigate the RNG? It depends on what you're doing.
This is genetics,
yes,
right? So,
yes.
I mean, there is a sense of RNG that will occur there regardless.
Absolutely.
But, there are things like your skill level.
Right.
There are things like the quality of creature that you're using.
You might get a weird-looking creature like the Pride Stalker.
Right. Well, here, I'll give you a perfect example, at least with regards to the animal husbandry system, right? When you have a component in the animal husbandry system, which is like one half of that process, that half has a history. It has a pedigree, so to speak, right? And that pedigree equates to, in the back end for us, a value of basically a rarity number that it has. The higher that number, the more impactful it'll be against the RNG process. There will still be an RNG because it is, of course, genetics. We want to make sure that quantity is not just manually induced, but also artificially induced through an RNG process as well, so that it's that much more special when a person achieves a certain thing.
All right, our next question is from Idalar Al-Bayish. I'm definitely bashing that name.
Good job.
I mean,
it was a good attempt.
Yeah, it's a good attempt, right? What kind of out-of-combat skills can we expect from the different classes?
Out of combat skills?
Yeah, so for instance, like the ranger
tracking.
can find tracking, like
utility skills.
that kind of stuff.
A lot.
Yeah.
It's
We could
we're
list
running
off
out of
a
time,
bunch, yeah.
But we'll probably do a design document.
like
Sometimes when I hear a question,
the
I know
exam-
like there's 100 answers going through
Right,
my head.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
Like the
What do I
example I
s-
gave is like, the finding like trending tracks for the ranger.
Yeah,
that
I
kind
mean,
of thing.
there are absolutely, we've demonstrated in the past, like at PAX events, some of the utility skills that can be used along certain quests or to, find certain markers out in the open world. Those things are kind of housed within specific classes.
A lot of them is going to be based around traversal, based
Right,
around
yes.
helping you solve different types of quests. There'll be, out of combat skills that if you are an explorer, they'll be really useful. There'll be different kinds of skills that if you are a tank, they'll be useful.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, it's there to... Those are there to support and sort of inform the environment and help the environment become
And not
a
only
character.
just the
So-
classes, but things in the environment too. Like for instance, if there might be a potion somewhere that you might need to use in a specific area to
And
get
if
rid
you're
of
a
something.
rogue and you're
Just so you understand, our mindset on that philosophy is it goes back to more foundational aspect of what the game is supposed to be, which is a lot of games we played in the past. This. There is pretty much one progression path, and that's your adventuring class, right? You go out, you kill monsters, you get experience, you get to the highest level, and you unlock your skills and stuff. Our approach is to have many different type of progressive paths, right? Whether it be exploration, whether it be participating in the node system, whether it be, leveling up your artisan class, whether it be your adventure class,
playing the market.
all of those different things. So when we take your adventuring class and skills that are housed there, we want to make sure that there is some representation for those other progression paths that have utility aspects within your skill tree as well. And that's kind of our philosophical approach to it.
All right. Our next question is from Ursha112. Wants to know how many stat attributes can we expect to see? Enough to require spreadsheets? ?
There will
just
be a
attributes.
number. Like there's sort of like a base set of 6, and then we have a bunch of what we call waterfall stats that kind of are derived off of that. I don't think it'll be like E-level spreadsheety, but we want it to be crunchy enough that that it's interesting, right? Like I am a crunchy numbers guy when it comes to creating characters. I love breaking things in Pathfinder.
Yes, he does.
But like
he absolutely does.
It's that's part of the fun for building a character is kind of min-maxing like those attributes and making them work for you. So we don't want to have you make it so that it's necessary to use a spreadsheet in order to figure that stuff out. But like if you really wanted to get into it, you probably could.
As a DM in Pathfinder, I particularly enjoy seeing what Jeff has to bring to the table because
Steven
it's
tries to-
challenging.
Because the
Steven
next time it
tries
gets
to murder
banned.
us.
No, it's not bad. I don't ban it. I just make sure that the DC increases respectively to the party composition, right? So if I see, he has a high AC in Pathfinder, I bring a lot of touch attacks. Or
And the next time I have a high AC, high touch.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Playing any tabletop with Steven as a DM, he will try to murder you.
Wow. Okay, my philosophy is if it's not challenging, it's boring. So I just feel like if you're not getting away from every encounter
at
with
level,
the literal...
A level 1, you're going to fight a level
Yeah.
15 character. It's fine.
If you bring an AC 27 to a level 1 encounter, then yes, you have a respect. Absolutely. You want to twink it? You want to power game it? By all means. I will show
told
you.
me to power game
I
it.
did, and then it was fun.
Okay. We'll move on to the next question. Levitus and Adorabus want to know. Oh, that's kind of cute together. With so many complex systems in the MMO, are there plans to have a tutorial?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. Not like a tutorial in like a tutorial sense, but
Right.
we certainly will have like an onboarding experience
Right.
for players
Yeah.
to get familiar and get acquainted for these systems and not dump all
Right.
of this onto somebody at one
So
time.
fundamentally, our approach to the tutorial question, outside of what we intend to have from a UI perspective that's going to have tooltips and helping there, is that the first 5 or 6 levels are intended to kind of take you through and touch, just barely, every kind of system that you might experience then in the broader game. So it's not necessarily like this instanced, siloed kind of tutorial that you have to go through and then you make your way into the real world. Instead, we're just going to make sure that the initial process of introducing you to the world includes these quests that kind of take you to each
After
system.
all, you are a new person on this planet and you need to learn.
Exactly.
Yeah. It'll be more of a immersive
Yes.
system. Ilsvet wants to know: will there be advantages to wielding a one-hander or hand and a half weapon by itself instead of with a shield or offhand. I think this kind of sounds similar to the other
Yeah,
question.
we've so it's that'll be something that you build toward, and not necessarily something that exists in and of the weapon, right? But yes, there will be passives and stuff that kind of support that Einhander kind of, fighting style. We kind of want to represent these types of fighting styles because everybody finds different things interesting, and you want to make sure that it's there for you and you can build toward it.
Ravuda wants to know, on a scale from AA to BDO, how bustling with NPCs do you plan to have towns be?
Towns will have a good amount of NPCs.
It'll depend on also if it's metropolis versus just
Of
a
course,
town, right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
But what I think at the various
General
stages
concept.
of what those nodes will develop to, every stage, will have a good amount of NPCs
want it
that
to
you can
feel
interact
lifelike.
with. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the idea is, and you guys know this, but the idea is you're repopulating this world. So, there's a lot of traffic that's coming in here. Will it be an NPC on every corner? No, not exactly. But there will be a sufficient number of NPCs to reflect that this is a populated area.
I'm going to answer the next one. Ilya wants to know, can we expect constant fixes, updates, and additions for Apocalypse, especially for Castle Siege after its release? Yes.
We are.
The answer is yes.
We are currently on a daily cadence of
Hourly?
updates. Yeah, I know. I just mean like from a build perspective.
But that is, we'll have a cadence of like updates, so you're going to get used to that, and we'll let you guys know whenever those things are happening. We'll give patch notes for those big major fixes. There'll be little or smaller patches in between, as well as the bigger ones where we add more content.
And we
things of
know that
sort.
squads and duos are currently not available at the moment. We will have updates for that. We are currently working on that, and we hope to get that to you guys soon. In the meantime, playing solos still definitely gives us good data and allows us even to test live some of the issues we're seeing with the squads and duos, and we can get that fixed hopefully ASAP.
Bior wants to know, will you be able to show off your rare boss kills as freehold trophies?
Yes.
I love those things.
You get to
We'll have trophies.
Absolutely.
Mick Stackerson wants to know, in the MMO, will different weapons of the same type have different attack speeds?
Different weapons of the same type. Yeah, they'll have varying attack speeds.
There'll be different types of weapons.
Yeah.
And then Doomfet wants to know, will there be a class combo that is pure buffing / debuffing versus doing damage?
Pure, probably.
I mean, it depends on how they spec it, right?
Yeah.
If they choose not to spec into
Like if you just wanted to be
damage
only
skills
healing
and they
and
only
buffing
focus
and
on the buff or
debuffing,
debuff
maybe.
skills, then they could potentially
They could
do that.
do that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
they'd still have a weapon. They'd still have,
Right.
Or
It would, so
you
that,
always have the option to attack.
That
right?
would
Like,
depend on the
it's-
class, the archetype,
Yeah.
first of all.
Yeah.
And then some archetypes would be more capable of that than others. Some would just entirely not be
I
probably
feel like
capable
maybe
of
a
that.
healer, some.
Well,
that
Yeah,
might-
it would
that
just
might
depend on your
work
build,
better.
right?
Yeah.
Like that's kind of how that stuff works. I'm sure that there will be clever things that people can come up with.
Yep. Whether or not that's a viable class, I don't know.
Yeah, I think you'd still want to attack. Tayloon wants to know, the elves that exist within the underrealm of Vera, what do they call themselves?
That's a good question.
Underwear?
No. We will reveal more about that specific lore as we move forward on those particular minor races.
And then Sana wants to know, how are you addressing the issues with EU launch as it relates to MyCom?
We are currently in constant communication with our partners over at My Games. And we are providing support. As a matter of fact, if you're in Europe right now, the Game Center client is available to play. Currently, it does work, and even the Steam EU executable is now working as well, so you can log in and play currently. And we are constantly pushing updates and fixes with not just our North American client, but also our European partners.
And Hydrilla wants to know, what happens if I am in the middle of a quest or quest line that is specific to a particular stage of a node, and that node changes stages?
That quest goes dormant, or it has a secondary quest completion and/or objective. Sometimes it will not be possible.
It's rarely.
Yes.
It depends on the type of quest that we're talking
Yes.
about. But like for the main storyline
main
quests.
storyline, yeah.
Those will always have alternative like completion or characters that you can return to, and you'll be notified of that stuff. If it upgrades, right, nothing changes.
Yes.
Upgrade always persists everything. Sorry, I'm putting my paper around. But if it gets destroyed, then we. Oh my God, are you okay?
I'm
So
fine.
sorry.
Give me a giant paper cut down my face. No, I'm just kidding.
She now has a scar. Maggie the scar. And it's my fault.
No, I'm fine.
There's so much air conditioning. I didn't know where it was going to go. But yeah, if it gets destroyed, there will usually be an alternative way of completing it. And then if it upgrades, nothing changes. Everything's kind of how it should go.
And our final question is from Daedalus. Are the class kits available in Castle Siege mode going to be the same for Horde mode?
No, those class
Almost
kits will
certainly
be
not.
different.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
I feel like
We
a
did
news
it.
reporter.
I know.
Well, tonight at 7 o'clock.
Yeah, so that's kind of it for us. Thank you so much for tuning in. We hope that we got through all the questions. So thank you to Toast for putting those together and consolidating. Toast does a really good job of grabbing them, kind of rewording stuff so that it's easy for me to read. Yeah. We want to, again, thank you all for helping us test. We really, really appreciate it. It means a lot to us.
Don't
It
forget
helps
that
us.
promotion for this weekend
Yeah,
only.
log
We'll
in.
send out messaging for that. Log in and play. It definitely helps us out for testing. If you enjoy the game, feel free to stop by Steam. You can leave us a review. And yeah, we appreciate everybody's help.
Yeah, we're getting this thing done.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll be sending this out via email and social and stuff like that, so you'll get an update on it as well, and you can share it with all the people that you know as well, so that they know what's up. And get yourself an Ember Storm Dragon. It looks so badass.
It does.
It's pretty sick.
Hey,
It's really
language. No, I'm just kidding.
cool. Yeah, sorry. We're of course, follow us on all of the things at Ashes of Creation to keep up with all of the MMO news. We'll have some more goodies coming up in the next few weeks, so definitely tune into that. And then, of course, if you want to follow our Apocalypse goodness, you can check that out at AOC Apocalypse on all the places. So thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you next month for another live stream.
Thanks, you guys.
Bye.
Sorry, Maggie.
Great. All right. I think we're good.
That's a long one.
Yeah.
What time is it?
It's almost 12:30.
Oh my gosh.
Is our mic still going?